Welcome. I'm David T. Phillips, CEO of Estate Planning Specialist, and your host today for the podcast, Estate Planning Made Easy. Now, a long time ago, 1994 to be exact, I wrote a book called Estate Planning Made Easy. It was published first by Dearborn and then subsequently by Kaplan. 3 editions were finished, and it actually was a bestseller for a period of time on the New York Times bestseller list. I had a good run with the book. A lot of people called me. They asked me to help them with their estate planning. I've been doing estate planning since 1972, and so kind of had an expert label on me at that particular point in time. And I've seen so many estate plans throughout my life, and analyzed and recommended different strategies and plans for so many clients all over the country. Networked with several key estate planning law firms, specifically the Durfee Law Group now is the group that we're working with and highly recommend. And I have seen the biggest, billion-dollar estates and just average American estates throughout my life. So I wanted to today in our podcast to talk about the number one estate planning mistake and really how we can avoid that mistake, and kind of succinctly tell you the strategies that I would implement to not only get your act together and get your estate planned, because our goal is, as a unit, as estate planning specialist is the name of our company, is to create and help you create a powerful, productive posterity. I think isn't that everybody's dream, is that your kids and grandkids are producers in society. And at least that's mine and has been. I've shared that goal with my kids and my grandkids. And I make it known to them that there is an inheritance waiting for them, but it's contingent upon them adhering to the philosophy of being productive. Powerful, that's all right, but productive for sure. So what's the most common mistake that we see time and time again? Well, of course, it's not properly planning your estate. Because if you don't, it will foster the absolute worst traits of human nature: anger, envy, jealousy, hate. Why put your family through that trauma, that nightmare, when you can solve the problem in a few hours by simply creating a well thought out estate plan? You know, there was 2 sisters that were clients of mine, and they were both in their 90s. Both had lived really pretty good lives, and both had significant assets. The older sister was older by 1 year, and literally she almost died 1 year before her younger sister. When she died, she did not have an estate. The first sister died. She didn't have an estate plan. Now, again, you're in your 90s. So you would think that, okay, somewhere along the line, I would draw the line and I would set up a plan. And the first sister passed with no plan at all in place. And in fact, she actually had a reverse mortgage. Most of the kids thought they were going to receive an inheritance of the mortgage, and they didn't. Because of the reverse mortgage. And it was a lot of confusion, a lot of turmoil, a lot of anger actually toward their mother and their grandmother. On the other hand, the other sister passed away, like as I said, about a year later. And it was interesting because she had everything planned. She had who gets what ring. And she didn't have as much, I think, as the older sister as far as estate assets are concerned, but she definitely had a plan in place. and a well thought out plan on what would happen when she passed away. And I went to both funerals. So, and I'm telling you, it was night and day. And so my caution to our listeners, to our viewers, is simply this: make sure that you are respectful of your family and that you do design a plan, a logical plan of distribution of your assets. Be they meager or enormous, doesn't really matter. Just make sure that you have this plan in place. Well, so how do you go about it? What's your first step to take to properly plan your estate? First thing I would do is if it were me, I would visit our website, estateplanningmadeeasy.com. That's EPMEZ.com. It's EPMEZ.com. And from there, the first thing I would do is I would order my book, recently in its 4th edition, titled The 10 Most Common Estate Planning Mistakes and How to Avoid Them. I mean, it's an easy read. It gives you guidelines on the mistakes people are making, and then it also gives you the solution on how not to make that mistake for your family. So that's the first thing I would do. Then the next thing I would do is I would subscribe to our newsletter, Generational Wealth Strategies. Go to generationalwealthnewsletter.com, generationalwealthnewsletter.com, and subscribe to Generational Wealth Strategies newsletter. It's authored by myself. I get to be the lead author. My article is entitled, or my column is entitled, Strengthening Your Roots. The next segment is written by Rick Durfee, one of my favorite estate planning attorneys in the country. And he writes a column in the newsletter titled Sustainable Legal Solutions. And in each month, he gives a litany of solutions and gives logical reasons why these solutions work in today's world, and especially in today's litigious world where everybody wants to sue everybody. And his goal is to make sure that your estate is foolproof, that the creditors and the predators can't get in and get what you have while you're alive, as well as when you pass away to the next gen. And you think about it, if your estate plan is incorrectly set up, you could have divorces play into this and actually create a tremendous loss in value. We call it rape and pillage the estate, and it certainly could happen that way. And so you want to make sure that you have a logical plan in place. And Todd Phillips, my son, who's the president of Estate Planning Specialists, he writes a column called the Safe Money Corner. And each month, he gives us strategies on how we can keep our estate without losing our estate. Because if we have a poor investment, if we invest in Bertie Madoff and he takes all of our money, we basically didn't do a good job. We weren't very good stewards of our money. And so Todd gives us suggestions on how to create safe investments that are not at risk and still do well in your investments. So that's the Safe Money Corner. And the fourth column is by Melody Gatz, who is the president and director of the Legacy Global Foundation. And Melody's column talks about charitable giving and how to incorporate charities into your overall estate plan. So it's not all about you. It's not all about your family. You can incorporate charitable giving into your plan. So the newsletter again comes out once a month. It's published by Salem, and it's entitled Generational Wealth Strategies, generationalwealthnewsletter.com. Okay, so that's the next thing I would do. Then I would then make sure that I get my estate analyzed. And this is our estate planning profile. It's a very, very simple one, which ends up creating an estate analysis. And this analysis ends up being your roadmap on how to get from A to Z based on your wishes, on what you want to accomplish, on where you want to go with your estate. There's also a new software that we have on our website called the EPIC, Estate Planning Individually Centered. I love it. It allows you to organize your estate in a way that you just basically do it online and fill in the blanks, and it really is effective. So I would call 888-892-1102, which is our toll-free number, to get started, and just say, hey, I heard David on his podcast and I want to get started. You either want to do it through the profile and get your estate analyzed. And I would say if your estate is in excess of $3 million, do it that way. If it's under 3, then go with the estate organizer, or use both very, very effectively. Then I would make sure that I would set up a revocable trust, not just a will. A will goes through probate. It's subject to probate. It's subject to public criticism. Everybody finds out about it, and it really doesn't do a good job for you. So if your estate is under $250,000, I would definitely do a revocable trust. If it's over $250,000, I would go one step further, and I would make sure that I set up a revocable dynasty trust. A little bit different than just a basic revocable trust, because it's a trust that never runs out. As long as there's money in the trust and you have beneficiaries to receive it, money will go out to them. So those are the things that I would do. We have power in our hands today. We have the ability to set up a logical distribution plan of our estate from one generation to the next. That is power that we have. And we can abuse that power by doing nothing, by ignoring it, by just pushing it under the, it certainly isn't as fun as planning your next vacation, but it definitely is something that you need to do. And you need to do it now while you have your wits about you, while you know what's going on, while you have capacity to do so, and not make it, I'm not sure that he was of sound mind when this happened. Make sure that you are of sound mind now, and you get it done, and you plan it, and you strategically plan. We have celebrities that time and time again do it wrong. We have Aretha Franklin, who knew she had cancer. We had Prince, who said he was never going to die. We have Diane Feinstein, who was a senator, U.S. senator. No estate plan. You just can't do that. You can't leave your family in a lurch like that. And doing so creates animosity, again, and jealousy and hate, where we want to create unity and love and harmony. And that's what an estate plan is. And that's our broadcast for today. We will be back next week, and we'll have another subject to talk to you about. So tune in next week. Estate planning made easy is actually easy. Thanks, and make it a fabulous week.